We are recording. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another Wednesday morning webinar with the Western Cape Forum for Intellectual Disability. For those of you who are new here, my name is Amy Isaacs. I'm an occupational therapist and the program manager at the forum. We are very excited to have you here today, and I think we've got a lovely lineup this morning. So with the onset of lockdown and needing to support learners at home with homeschooling and remote learning, the same was required for learners with intellectual disability. And creating a remote learning program and the structure of it, and also just connecting with parents has been or can be quite a challenge. And I think it's a learning that we all needed to take on, whether you're doing remote learning for learners with severe to profound ID or learners with mild to moderate ID. The process of supporting a learner remotely and the process of developing programs was going to be something new to all of us. So in planning this, what has been quite exciting is that I could connect with Lyndall Johnson from Oasis School. She's an OT there. And then with Shannon Potgieter and Jana Marinkovitz, I got it right now, who are speech therapists and occupational therapists, respectively, for the CSPID South team. CSPID, if you're new to us, is Children with Severe to Profound Intellectual Disability. And these teams support learners in special care centers, and they'll tell you a lot more about what they've been busy with. We've got a lot to cover, so I'm not going to speak for very long today. Just a bit of housekeeping. Please, would you click on the chat section? And I see some of you have already started. Thank you so much. Please, in the chat section, would you put your name and your surname and the organization you're from? I know some of you come quite regularly. I'm wondering if you already have like a copy-paste situation, which is quite cool. Not particularly sure why Trainer went on there, but okay. And sorry, Ruth, I'm going to mute you. You will notice that I will mute all of you. You will notice that I will switch off your videos if you're not the presenter. And the only reason for I do this is because Zoom works on a bandwidth system. So the more people connected and the more people on video, the slower the connection. So what we're trying to do is make sure everybody gets good access. So we will switch off your videos and mute your mics as well. So I have asked you to put in the chat section, just so you are aware we are live on Facebook. So hello to everyone watching on Facebook. And we are recording the session. So if you leave at any stage and you want to catch up, or you need to come back and catch up, this session will be available on our website, probably from about Friday, if not Monday. So please give us a bit of time to upload it as well. I want to start the session by sort of just planting the seed of remembering that the spaces between a special care center and a Elson school are very different. The amount of learners are different, and the connections with parents and families are different. And during my conversation with Lyndall, Shannon, and Jana, it became very apparent that the cultures are different. So what you're able to do at an Elson school in terms of connecting with parents is going to be very different to what you're able to do at a special care center. Usually at special care centers, because the group is smaller, people are center managers, program implementers, therapists. It's easier to have a bigger connection because it's a small group. So we can do group sessions on WhatsApp, etc. You will see, I think the biggest difference between the two is that Lyndall uses individual WhatsApp sessions with parents, and Shannon and Jana have been, the CSPID teams have been working through groups. So I just want you to remember that the culture of both spaces is different. And if you are planning remote learning for your learners, you're going to have to use the culture that is within your setting. So I want you to be open to both. Even if you feel that you don't have learners with profound ID, it's more about the program and how you how learners access the program than what the level of intellectual disability is with the learner. So let's think a little bit broader today. It might not be applicable for the learners you work with, but you can use the content and you can use the information and make it applicable in your setting. We will have a evaluation form at the end of the session. Please will you do us the favor of clicking on the link. It takes you about 4 minutes, if not shorter, and it really is helping us to plan for future training sessions. Also next month's training program will be out in the next couple of days as well. So I'm going to stop talking. Lyndall, I know, needs lots of time. So Lyndall, I'm going to hand over to you. see that you've unmuted yourself. That is fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It is really lovely to hear from you, and I've been so excited to see the work that you're doing. I'm going to hand over to you completely. You're welcome to share your screen. I'm going to switch my video off as well. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, and thank you so much for the opportunity. While I'm introducing myself, I'm very, very excited this morning to share what we've been doing at our school. And I'm Lyndall Johnson, as said, and I'm the only occupational therapist at Oasis Special School. And just a little bit about Oasis School while I'm sharing my screen is that we service a population of 52 learners, and that our service areas are Belhar, Bishop Lavis, Bellville, Westbank. And so those are the areas, and also known for being the poor socioeconomic areas as well. And we do follow a DCAPS curriculum, which is a differentiated CAPS curriculum. And so we have the 3 major subjects, which is your languages, your maths, and your life skills, as well as we do some electives as well, which is your skills-based subjects, because we believe that at the end of the learner's schooling career, they have to leave with some sort of skill as well. So we've gone digital, guys. It's been a journey. And as Amy said, each context is different. And so this is more specific to Oasis, and even more so specific to occupational therapy and what I've sort of implemented from our side. So very exciting times for us. Just briefly, I do want to mention that we do specifically deal with learners with severe intellectual disability. And as we all know, there are the 4 others, which is your mild, moderate, severe, and profound. I'm not going to spend too much time on this slide. I want to say that within the ID population, the severe intellectual disability forms at least 5% of within the ID population. And these are learners that may probably need assistance with reading and writing, although they may learn self-help skills and routines. So most of our curriculum, or the curriculum, is based on functional reading, functional writing, and so on. And so why remote learning? So this has been a hot topic, and lots of discussion has gone into this. Should we go this route? Can we go this route? Can our parents, access, the different, platforms? So there's been like real intense discussion around this. But the main point that stood out for us is that the ID population is already such a lot of discrimination in terms of disability, and even more so with ID. And so we didn't want to broaden the gap or widen the gap with the discrimination and the for us not being able to access, and for us being, behind in the line again. So we really, really wanted to move with the times. And so we believe that, and so more specifically to that, is that we believe that we can enable a learner and parents' participation in their occupations, in the home and in the community. So right now, the learner's occupation is learning within their environment. And how did we do that? So it was through therapist-guided, but parent-identified solutions to occupational performance barriers. So the parents we guided them, like for example, I guided them, and then it was parent-identified solutions within their context and within the environment. So fun times. And then, of course, because I'm a therapist, we are always guided by science and by research. And so specifically to how I've done it, I've really looked into the occupational performance coaching model, which was developed by Fiona Graham as part of her PhD. And really, what has stood out about this model and how I've used it, it is evidence-based intervention to assist people with disabilities and parents. It is parent-directed, and it's where the therapist is actually coaching the parent. So parent-directed intervention where they are coached to improve their and their child's performance. And then also it draws on core occupational therapy principles in that it believes that people learn, develop, and grow from doing what they value. So we then said that parents would value their children's education, and so they would then want to learn, grow, and develop in that area. And that this model is also strengths-based, so it looks at what is accessible to the parent already in terms of how the parents engage and how active parents are involved. That is really prioritized within this model. And so how did I put this model into action within remote learning? I connected with a parent. I listened to them, I empathized with them in terms of understanding their context, understanding what they have. And then through all of that, I partnered with them. Then I put in some structure, and I'll go more in depth about the structures and how I did that. And within the structure, how did I act? How did I evaluate? And how was it generalized across the parents that I sort of serviced? And then in sharing, how did we share the information? So I would usually send out a video, and the parent was then expected to send a video or picture back so that I can sort of share and evaluate. And through this, I would then be able to teach occupational therapy principles to them. For example, I had to teach them hand over hand and those core principles. And also to, for example, make myself resourceful to them as far as possible. And just, you will see on this slide, there's a number of icons. So in the bottom left hand corner, you will see there's a telephone. This is a method that I tried, but it didn't really work because parents weren't available at the same time that I was available. And then also in certain areas, we found that there was cable stolen, telephone cable stolen, or the connectivity was just so bad. So this is something that we tried, but it didn't work for us. Then you will see on the top there, you'll see a Facebook icon. We've got a Facebook page, and this is more for information and awareness and prevention. So here we would put things around general things that they can access, general information that they can access. Then in the very middle, you will see there's WhatsApp for Business. This is a key sort of connector, or that I sort of found very, very, very useful, based on the hypothesis that I thought that, look, most people probably have access to a smartphone. So because my cell phone has dual function, it's got a function for 2 SIMs to fit in there. So I then bought another SIM and then logged myself onto WhatsApp for Business. Because I didn't want to use my personal number, I wanted to use a different number. And what's so nice about WhatsApp for Business is that you can schedule the time that you are available. So I could then schedule my working hours within that. And any messages that comes through after that working hours, I'll still receive it, but it will give a setting where I can say, I'm not available, but I'll answer as soon as I can. Then, so that was this is the main sort of medium that I used. And then in the top right-hand corner, you'll see Microsoft Forms. This is another really useful tool that I've used, So what I've done is I created a Microsoft Forms where I then based it on a needs assessment. So on the forms, I then ask them, do they have access to a laptop? Do they have access to a desktop? Do they have access to a smartphone? I even ask them how would they like to receive the the activities or the materials. Would they like to receive it via a video call, via a voice call, or just a message? And then also I could ask them what time would they like to receive this information. So this was very, very useful for me. And then I embedded the link to Microsoft Forms within a WhatsApp message. And this was great because some parents could just click on the link and they would then fill it in. I must say there were a few parents that struggled to fill in the form. But what I did was I took it a step further and I then coached them through how to fill in the form. So there was one fun story where the one parent was so desperate that she actually voice messaged me and said, where do I click? And then I would voice message back to say, you click on the green, and then she'll voice message back to say, what do I do now? And the voice messages was just going back and forth. But what stood out for me there was the willingness of the parent to want to, express her level of support that she would like for her child. And then in the bottom left-hand corner, you will see the icon for Google, Google Classroom. I do have a few parents that I have signed up for Google Classroom. Why? Because they have indicated that they have access to a laptop and they have access to a printer. So I've currently only have 3 learners that I've identified and placed on Google Classroom, where I would then place videos on there for them. So that was quite nice as well. And then the next slide is the stages that I've identified within this. So stage 1 for me was to establish a general medium of communication. And that for me was WhatsApp for Business that I used. And then stage 2 was initial parent and caregiver contact. So this is where my first message to them was, hi, I'm Lyndall Johnson. I'm an occupational therapist. I have been working with your child on a school level. May I send you a link where I can inquire from you or get information from you as to how I can assist. That was stage 2. And then stage 3 was a general introduction and purpose of the contact. So here I made a nice video for the parents, just illustrating what the purpose of my contact with them is or are, and then also to create a sense of expectations. What do I expect from them? So one of the key things that I expected from them is that if I send you a video or if I send you a picture, please, if they can send me a video or picture back so that I can see how the child is progressing and so that I can adapt my content to what the child's specific needs are. And then stage 4 was SEND support needs assessment. And this is where the Microsoft Forms came in. And this gave me a nice idea of what type of support the parents needs specific to their context. And then stage 5 was analyze learner and parent support needs. This is where Microsoft Forms then kicks out an Excel spreadsheet, and it could help me analyze really where I need to pay attention more in terms of my therapeutic telehealth or remote learning goals. And also it kicks out a nice pie chart to see how many wants videos, how many wants video calls, how many parents wants voice calls, and how many just wants messages. That was a nice, really great indicator there. And then stage 6 was schedule and plan support structure based on parent needs. So here based on the needs assessment, I could then structure and plan my week or my weeks according to what the parents want. So I could schedule and plan accordingly. And then stage 7 was evaluate information, evaluate intervention and progress through parent coaching. So here, once the parents sent me a video back, I could then evaluate it, and then I could then see how the learner progressed. And also I could use it as a medium of coaching the parent through why they should try this option, and why they should, for example, do an activity in a specific way. All right, and then stage 8 was monitoring and evaluation. This is after 4 weeks. What I did was I asked parents feedback, and I asked them how is it going. I asked them, is this method of remote learning working for you? How can we change it? How can we adapt it? And so far, I found that they are loving it, because it's almost like it is, direct communication and direct to their specific needs. And as Amy said previously, I don't work with in groups. I work directly with the parents, so the message will go directly to that parent's number. And then stage 9 is feedback to teachers. So we all know that these learners are in a classroom. So for me, it was important to share what the progress of a learner was with that teacher. So for example, John, who is in Miss Jackson's class, for example, I will say, hi, Miss Jackson, I've been in communication with John's mother. This is what we've done. This is where the learner is at, so that when John eventually comes back to school, teacher will know where to pick up from that, to pick up with that learner. Then very importantly was also stage 10, which was feedback to the school head, which is my principal. This is more evidence of remote learning, and also evidence with regards to stats. So what I've done was, because there's no blueprint for this, I've then developed a stats form and evidence form of how many learners did I give remote learning to, how many messages did I send out. So there's a whole Excel spreadsheet that I've developed, and then I'm very happy to share as well. And then also stage 11, this was more on an information basis, where I then gave feedback to I give feedback to the district, and this in our case is MNED. All right, and then just a short case study here. Let me just move that up quickly. All right, so a case study was typical case study that I thought I'd share quickly. On the right-hand side of your screen, let me just pause that quickly. So on the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see there I then made a little video for the parent, where I show them hand over hand, and also how to use the dots, and also how to guide the hand over hand. And then just towards the top there, you will see a typical example of a grandpa assisting his grandson with the activity and hand over handing him there. And then my response to that, right next to that, was a really saying, well done for doing the activity. And also the grandpa actually made it very, very personal, where he chose to use the child's name in this activity. And also in the video, I also identified that the grandpa made use of letter association, which is, for example, F for apple, K for cat, and so on, just to assist the learner as well. And then I also make reference to that we can also upgrade the activity or downgrade the activity by increasing or decreasing the amount of dots as well. Then just below that, I also make mention that I will be making a follow-up video just to show how we can upgrade or downgrade that same activity. And then I also reiterate to the parent, I also reiterated to the parent that progress will be slow, but they need to just practice every day. And then at the bottom, you'll see that I made another video for the parent just showing how we can upgrade and downgrade. And then here, next to that, you'll see there's a little video of the parent just indicating to say, in the video, she's basically saying that she's grateful that she's able to receive information via video and that it's convenient for her. And also in the video, she also mentions that she loves the fact that it's almost immediate response. She doesn't have to wait for a PTA to get, to get indication about how a learner or a child is doing. So, Amy, I'm going to try again on my side to play the video. Just indicate to me if it's sort of working on your side. No. Okay. So it's not working. Okay, it's fine. I will stop it quickly. All right. So that is just basically the case study that I thought I'd show. And then what was the journey like? All right. So what was the journey? So what was the benefits? The benefits of remote learning for us was, or for me, was a parent involvement. There was a real increase in parent involvement. And then the next one was realistic goals that was set between myself and the parent, and then also a shift in learning expectations. So as we know that some of our parents, they really have high expectations in terms of where their learner will end up, or the amount, the abilities of the learner. And so with following this method, I found that there was a more realistic learning expectations from the parent themselves. And then the next one was parent understands learner abilities and learner needs. And then also regular and consistent parent and therapist engagement. So again, I said they didn't have to wait for a PTA. They almost get it almost instantly. And then quicker communication responses, and then also improve parent and learner relationships, because now parents are more engaged with their child as well. Then moving on to challenges, I need to say it, I'm saying it as challenges, but as time went on, we learned to sort of overcome the challenges as well. And we sort of tried to work around the challenge. Like, for example, limited data, because parents knew what time and when the information will come through to them, they could then try and organize to arrange data for themselves as well. Then poor connectivity. There was instances where there's a poor connectivity, especially in certain areas. So for example, if we would schedule a WhatsApp voice call, then the parent would, we would try it, and then there was poor connectivity. Then, for example, we would then switch over to voice notes instead, sending back and forth voice notes. So we became then really very creative in terms of how to communicate. Then home environment and space, as we all know that everyone's spacing is different in their homes. Some of our homes, only have one dwelling, or they have a kitchen area, or they have an outside small area. Those are all spaces that we try to access as well, or parents then use. Then limited resources from our school side. What we've done was we've sent home small or little stationery packs for our learners, just to make sure that they have a pencil, they've got an eraser, they've got pencil crayons. But personally, what I would have liked from my side is that to send home a therapeutic kit, where I could send home and say, look, I could send home like things with the recipe for Play-Doh, you know, where they can then make their own Play-Doh. I could send home like a hula hoop or a small ball. These are things that I would then assist and make the videos around that. So that's what I would have loved to make available to our parents. And then also scheduling time for parent learner engagement. What I found was that some parents, they can only sort of engage with their learners at night because they work. I also had one parent saying, I work 1 week and I work 1 week and the other week I'm at home. So the week I'm at home, you're most welcome then to send me some things that I can do with my child. So those are things that how we've had to adapt. And then also language. We've sort of worked around this because I'm first language English, and there's some people that's first language Afrikaans or first language isiXhosa. There was a lot of joking around this between myself and my parents, but we somehow just find ways sort of to communicate with my broken Afrikaans sometimes. I just, you know, we have some good laughs around that. Then tech savvy limitations. I did find that sometimes I had to coach parents as to in terms of technology. As I mentioned before, I had to coach them as to how to use the Microsoft link and how to fill it in. And then lastly, text message abbreviations. This I had to, I had to almost ask parents, look, to refrain from using text abbreviations so that we can both understand each other clearly. And then major, what was my learnings? So my learnings from this whole thing was, firstly, I'm very, very excited, it really shifted the way I think, or I thought as a therapist. Firstly, it was to ask parents what they need. Sometimes we think that because they come from poor socioeconomic backgrounds, we need to make decisions on behalf of them. And sometimes we fail to ask them what they need. And so this was a major, major shift for me to ask them, because if you ask them, they will tell you exactly, and we will sometimes be majorly surprised as to what they have access to. And then don't underestimate parents' accessibility and willingness. Again, here, I was majorly surprised when one of some parents told me, look, please, I would like to use Google Classroom because I have access to a printer and I have access to a laptop, you know? And then also their willingness to just want to engage with their learners. And then lastly, parent creativity and ability to adapt. Here again, obviously in my videos, when I send it to them, I put in effects, I put in music, I make it hip and fun for them so that learners can really want to interact. And then I was pleasantly surprised when a parent sent me a video back, also with effects, also with music, and also, wanting to make their video as cool as they thought mine was. And then also ability to adapt. That was also very important because one of my activities was around using colorful pegs. And then the parent didn't have colorful pegs, but she had colorful bowls. She only had, like, the normal wood pegs. And what she did was she took the normal wood pegs and used the colorful bowl, so she could then bring in the fine motor coordination as well as colors within that activity. So it was a real fun and exciting, journey in terms of this remote learning for us. And then I'm going to stop there. I did feel a bit rushed. There's so much more that I can share and that I want to share, but I'm aware that there's more colleagues of ours that want to present. So just in closing, I do want to say thank you to parents for their commitment and involvement in their child's education. And then I also want to say a huge thank you to the participants listening here today. I believe that in sharing this information, we can all make our lives, better. And I do believe that even though we have different contexts, we can sort of try, to adapt ourselves to accommodate other people as well, and that we shouldn't be limited to a disability or what we can offer. And then also thank you to the Western Cape Forum Intellectual Disability for the organizing this. A huge thank you for the opportunity. Over to you guys. Thank you so much.
Hi, Lindell. Thank you so much for that excellent presentation. And I think what it really shows us is the adaptation that we can do as therapists, but also as parents, giving the parents the opportunity to go forward. Even myself having to homeschool my kids now, it's really stretched my mathematical abilities. But having therapists like yourself that makes it interesting and exciting, it's really fantastic to see. Before I hand over to Jana, who, if you can do your screen share, my lips are getting all tangled today, so we can get you going, and if you could unmute yourself, please. But in the interim, those of us that joined a little bit later, please can you make sure that you've signed in under the group chat. And also, please don't forget to do our evaluation link. It's just further up on the chat. Boziswa has linked the SurveyMonkey link there. So please, would you do the evaluation form for us so we can improve and add on to our training. I'm now going to hand over to Jana and her colleague Shannon. Shannon's a speech therapist, Jana is a occupational therapist, and they're going to be telling us what they have been doing during the lockdown period. And Shannon will be available for answering questions, and Jana will be presenting. And please put your questions on the side in the chat group. We're more than happy to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you, and Jana, go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Can everyone see my presentation? Okay, so I'm Jana, and myself and my colleague Shannon are from the CSPID South team, but we will be representing information from all the teams. So even though we are the ones talking, the information showcased is from everyone, all the different teams, and I will introduce them to you in a moment. So the goals for this session is to give a brief overview of children with severe to profound intellectual disability. I'm going to introduce to you the CSPID outreach teams. I'm going to give a brief introduction to the National Learning Program. I'm going to talk a bit about how we've been supporting parents during COVID-19, and I'm going to showcase some of our programs and videos that we've developed. And then I'm going to end off with a discussion about what we learned along the way, our challenges and opportunities. So similar to what Lyndall explained, but also very different, we work with children with severe to profound intellectual disability. And that's basically your learners that are not in special schools, but in special care centers. So to give you a picture of what a child with SPID can do, children with severe intellectual disability, as Lyndall explained, they function at a level between 3 to 5 years. So they can basically do some self-care activities independently, like eating, dressing, toileting independently, depending on their physical abilities. But it's important to note that there's a lot of variations and there's a lot of diverse abilities. So sometimes they have limited academic skills, but more vocational skills, able to do simple work tasks. For example, being able to use money, but not necessarily to know the value of the money. On the other end, children with PID cannot necessarily look after themselves, and they function at an age younger than 3 years, a developmental age younger than 3 years. So there's also extreme variations in their abilities. They might need assistance with self-care, so maybe they're able to feed themselves independently, but they would need supervision and assistance with bathing and dressing. So they are more dependent and they can't necessarily look after themselves. But as I've said, and I'm going to be repeating it many times through this presentation, there's a lot of variation between what children can and can't do. So a quick overview of the different teams, the CSPID teams. In the Western Cape, we have 6 CSPID teams, 3 in the Cape Town metro area and 3 in the rural areas. And each team services between 7 to 12 special care centers in a variety of different areas. So myself and Shannon work in the Metro South team, and we work primarily in areas like Mitchells Plain, Philippi East, Mfuleni, Khayelitsha, and Masiphumelele. We work, as CSPID, we work primarily in special care centers, as I've mentioned, but some special schools have also started classes for learners with SPID. So then we also service those classes. Our work, the way we work is supporting carers and program implementers at special care centers who are then our direct link with the parents and the learners. So we're not always we don't always work as hands-on and direct with the learner as, for example, Lyndall does in a special school setting. Just to give you a better understanding of what our role entails, as CSPID, we have 3 main areas that we focus on. One of the areas is data collection. So we collect data for a national database called SA SAMS, and this is to enable the Department of Education to know exactly how many learners there are with severe to profound intellectual disability, and this is necessary for planning and budgeting purposes. Our next focus area is on training. So to train carers, program implementers, center managers, parents, and therapists and other staff members who work with children with severe to profound intellectual disabilities, to provide them with information of how they can support learners and give them opportunity for learning. And then our last area that we work in is to provide outreach services, and this is perhaps the biggest area that we work in. And what this entails is to provide special care centers or schools with learning support materials, to provide assistive devices, to provide some direct therapeutic and psychosocial support, and then lastly, to facilitate the implementation of the National Learning Program. So the National Learning Program is like a curriculum for learners with PID, and it's from the National Department of Basic Education. And this is what guides our intervention with learners with SPID. And it's informed by the national policy for learners with severe to profound intellectual disability. So in the National Learning Program, there are different levels of attainment that is based on the different levels that a learner with S to PID is able to participate and to perform in class. So as I've said, learners have diverse abilities. So what this basically is, the diagram illustrates 3 main groups of learners, ranging from the most low functioning group, which is the awareness group, to the most high functioning group, which is the interactive group. And I'm going to get back to this a little bit later when I talk about how we've adapted activities for the different groups. Okay, so getting to the remote support that we've provided for learners with severe to profound intellectual disability, we've used the following platforms. We've used WhatsApp groups, Facebook groups, phone calls, home programs, and home kits. And I'm going to go a little bit deeper into what we've done with each of these platforms. So WhatsApp groups, this initiative was actually started by our Cape Mental Health special care centers. And we've used this model and implemented it with our other special care centers as well. So this is a platform where we are able to support parents directly. So we'd have a WhatsApp group with our carers and program implementers as well as the parents in one WhatsApp group. And we are able to provide direct support to the parents in that way. Or in some cases, we create WhatsApp groups with only the center staff, for example, the PIs and the carers. And then we provide them with support so that they can then give the support over to the parents. What we've been using mostly is sending short video clips and activity ideas that parents can use at home and use to stimulate their children. We often ask parents to send back a little video of how they are implementing these activities, and then we are able to give direct feedback to them, or we can give feedback to the carers or program implementers, and they then give the feedback over to the parents. So in that way, it's a two-way process. So we can give input and also receive input back from parents. It is important to note that WhatsApp groups can become very overwhelming for both parents and carers and team members. So we've been trying to limit our input to maybe weekly input to parents, so not to overwhelm them, but it really depends on the special care center. So some centers provide weekly input, other centers provide input daily. This has also been a really nice platform for parents to network with each other. So for example, if a parent has a question, maybe regarding their child's medication, then they can pose the question to everyone on the group and other parents will comment. So we've had a situation where a parent was concerned about waiting in long queues at the Mfuleni Healthcare Center, and other parents gave tips about how they can access community health workers. So in this way, there's a support system from all the parents at the special care center. One of our other teams, the CSPID rural team, has used Facebook as a platform for sharing resources with parents. We found that this is quite a nice platform to use because it's less overwhelming for parents. They can access the resources at any time during the day or night. So often parents use their nighttime data to go onto Facebook and access the resources. So it's less overwhelming, and it's a nice way to keep all the resources together in one place. Other ways that we've been supporting our special care centers is through WhatsApp calls, Zoom, telephone calls, and this is usually done as needed. On each CSPID team, there is an educational psychologist, and their main role has been to provide psychosocial support to center managers. So they'll provide telephonic support once a week. We also, similar to what Lyndall explained, we've also done a Google survey to see what parents' specific needs are and what they have available at home, because we know that every context is different. If you work in Rondebosch, if you work in Mitchell's Plain, things look different. So we sent the survey out to try and get an idea of what parents need and what they have available. This was quite a challenge because not all parents were able to complete the Google survey, but with the help of our center managers and carers, we were able to gather the information, not necessarily through using the platform of the Google form, but if it was a WhatsApp message or a phone call, we were able to gather this information. Now I'm going to quickly give you some ideas of the activities and the videos that we've been sending to parents so that you have an idea of what we've been providing. Mostly we've been sending videos and photos with activities that parents can do at home. We really try and use things that parents have available at home and to use everyday objects. So I'm going to show you short snippets of 2 videos. I hope the sound works. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but anyone who's interested can ask me afterwards, and we're happy to share this, just to give you an idea of what we've been making. So this is just to show you how you can use things at home that everyone has available. Provide educational opportunities. I'm just going to stop it there because I know time is going to run out. Here's another video. I'm just going to show you bits and pieces of it.
This is a fine motor activity that you can do with your learner by using 3 items that you can find at home. A piece of cloth, a spoon, and a piece of cardboard. The purpose of this activity is to improve your learner's pincer grip from the red circle or from the eye. That is the activity. We hope that you enjoy it.
Okay, so just to give you an idea. So with our learners with severe to profound intellectual disability, we are kind of moving away from only focusing on impairments of the body to look more towards function and participation, and providing opportunities for children to learn skills through participation in everyday activities or routine activities like bath time, dressing time, nappy change, brushing teeth, or snack time. And the reason for this is that we know that children with ID usually struggle with generalization. So if you teach a new skill, it is much more valuable to teach a skill in the context where they will be using that skill. For example, if your end goal is for your child to be able to feed themselves, it's better to work on the fine motor in the activity of feeding than to work on fine motor activities in isolation. So in this way, the activity has more meaning because it is done in the context where it will be used. If you provide opportunities for teaching new skills in routine activities, there's also a lot of repetition because the activity will be repeated throughout the day. For example, if you teaching new skills in bath time, you know that this is an activity that parents are going to be doing every day. It's also not a new activity for parents. It is something that they're doing anyway. So it's a nice way to get buy-in from parents because you're not giving them extra work, but you're just bringing in extra skills during an activity that they're doing anyway. And it's also using things that parents have at home. They don't need extra resources. It's things that they have available at home. So I'm going to show you snippets from another video that illustrates this of embedded skills in routine activities. We've been using PowerPoint with VoiceOver, as you will see in this video. And this has worked really nicely for our parents with lower levels of literacy, because sometimes if you just give a video or you give a printed program, they aren't necessarily able to read and understand. So I'm going to play you bits of this video so you can get a better idea of what I mean.
Nappy changing is something you do with your child every day. It is a good time to teach your child new things because you will repeat it many times during the day. Talk to your child while changing his nappy. Teach him body parts. Touch each body part and say the name. For example, here's your tummy, or there's your legs. Look at your child and make sure that he's giving attention. Wait for him to respond. And look and listen for any signs of communication, like eye contact, a smile, or a sound. Then go to the next body part. Nappy change time is a good time to do some stretching and massaging for children with stiff. Nappy changing is something.
And then let me just show you another video for the toothbrushing activity.
The toothbrushing song is on the same tune as Row, Row, Row Your Boat. Brush, brush, brush your teeth, brush them every day. Rinse them and take care of them, they'll stay white that way.
So we've also been working together with our PIs, and they've been helping us with translating videos to isiXhosa, and we've also been translating videos to Afrikaans. But I'm not going to show you that video now because I think we're going to be running out of time. So as I mentioned before, children with SPID have diverse abilities, but you can actually use the same activity, for example, a dressing activity, and grade it to accommodate for the different levels. So for a child in the awareness group, which is usually the most low functioning group, we would focus more on getting participation and engagement in the activity rather than trying to get the child to be independent in the activity. So for example, rather than passively dressing your child, trying to get a child to engage by looking or touching while dressing. But for a child in the transitional group who might be able to help with dressing, we could start to introduce skills, basic skills, for example, body parts. So a parent would then be trained to teach a child about their body parts while dressing. Then a child who's in the interactive group, which is the most high functioning group, you can start to bring in more complex skills like matching colors, counting, while doing an activity that's like dressing that a parent and child are doing every day. But it's important to say that the activity must already be easy and familiar for the child. So you won't be bringing in learning of new skills if the child struggles to dress. You would then rather downgrade the activity and work on teaching the child to participate more in the activity of dressing. Then we are aware that not all of our parents have access to WhatsApp groups, have access to Facebook. So we've been working on home stimulation kits that we've been sending home and distributing to the various special care centers. So I'm going to just show you some pictures of the different things that the different teams have been putting together and delivering. So a lot of self-care items, nappies, a cream, and then a nappy changing program that goes with it. Some printed home programs, activity books, depending on the child's abilities. Printed stories, so we often use stories about self-care activities like I can brush my teeth, I know how to go to the toilet, bath time, so bringing in those skills in a little story. Then just to say that the National Department of Basic Education has put together a task team to develop resources, and the task team is from the different provinces have come together, and at this stage they mostly looking at developing resources for COVID-19, but also developing other resources, and they are looking at an e-portal where all these resources will be put together and made available to parents at a data-free level. So to end off, I want to share a bit of a reflection on our challenges and opportunities and what we learned along the way. Because as Lyndall already said, that this is a new thing for all of us, and we just trying to figure out and see what works. And it's been a trial and error process, and we've come quite a long way. So some of our challenges also very similar to what Lyndall explained before, data needs. And what we found out is that WhatsApp bundles are actually the most affordable way to provide data. You can get a 1 gig WhatsApp bundle for a month that's between 30 to 35 Rand, and that has actually worked best for us. The lack of technology is a huge challenge because getting hold of parents is not always possible, and some center staff also lack technology, so communication is difficult. Network issues in some areas, there is just no internet, so yeah, we've been working with those struggles. We've also found that as the lockdown levels have been eased, parents have gone back to work, so our participation from parents has been less, because we see that parents are quite overburdened. They have to provide economically for their family, care for their children, and then also now provide the educational stimulation for their children at home. So it is quite an overwhelming task for parents, and we are well aware of that. From our side, it's been quite challenging putting together home kits for between 400 to 250 children per team. So that has kept us quite busy. And also the struggle of getting cooperation and buy-in from some parents and some centers. But it's not all been bad. There's actually been amazing opportunities for us, especially the opportunity of working with parents. So being from Department of Education, we don't always have as much direct input with parents. And this has been an amazing opportunity to actually empower parents, to enable them to provide, to be our hands, so to speak, to provide the therapy to their children. And also to use siblings in intervention. We've seen many cases where parents are working, but older siblings do the activities that we send home. And also it's been an opportunity to learn new technology skills. My skills with making videos has improved drastically. This is a new skill that I never thought I would use, but it's been very valuable. And also working in different environments, being more productive, working from home has been a new opportunity. And then just to mention that the CSPID grant framework has been reworked recently to accommodate for COVID-19. Then some of the lessons we learned along the way, and this is similar to what Lyndall also said, that, you know, parents are a very big asset, and it's been really valuable to work more closely with parents and siblings, and also not to underestimate what they are able to do. And seeing a child in the setting of a special care center is often quite different from seeing what they're able to do at home. So it's been really valuable to get videos from parents to see that children can do so much more in their natural home environment. And this has also been a great opportunity to think out the box, to really trial and error new things, learn new things, and also work together with other people, providing remote services. In the end, we're all in the same boat and we can learn from each other. It's not necessary to reinvent the wheel. Okay, that's it from my side. I think I've run out of time.
Thank you, Jana, very much. Shame I didn't want to put the pressure on, but you were very concise and that was incredibly interesting. I'd just like to say to Lyndall, to yourself and to Shannon, for the hard work that you're doing during very challenging times, I think for everyone, but really the interest of the learners at heart and looking at what the parents can do given their circumstances. It's really, really, really fantastic. So well done and thank you so much. Very interesting. I'm sure everyone who's been watching would like to know a lot more about it. So I'm sure they'll contact us should they need any more assistance and information from you. And as Amy said, this will be posted up later on in terms of the presentation. Again, thank you so much for availing your time. I know that all of you are really busy. Thank you to all the participants who've been watching today. We hope you've enjoyed it. Please complete our evaluation form. Post any questions or messages that you have to us in email if you aren't able to do it now. Great presentation, ladies. Thank you so very much. And everyone have a very good rest of the day. It looks like it's a bit cloudy today, so hopefully we'll get some sun again soon. And have a lovely afternoon, and we'll see you again next week. I think it's the 5th of August. We are having a talk on comorbidities and persons with intellectual disability during the time of COVID-19. So please join us for that. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good day.